Hello, this is Aylin Olsun from Coach Magazine Global. My guest for today is Even Bolstad. He is the president of the EAMP, European Association of People Management, and managing director of HR North. I think that he has a lot to say about coaching, future of human resources, current trends in the job market, and of course, technology. Welcome, Evan. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm fine. Thanks. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you very much to accept our invitation. It is a great honor to chat
Likewise.
with you. Okay, Evan, I really wonder that how did your path cross with EAPM? And can you introduce us what kind of organization is EAPM?
The EAPM is an umbrella association for 34 national HR associations all around Europe. And there are such continental associations in America, South America, North America, Africa, Asia. And we are again connected through a world umbrella. So basically, EAPM is an arena for sharing knowledge, building relations, and trying to support each other and develop the profession and make HR a better thing for companies, for individuals, and the society.
And now you are the president of
Yeah.
EAPM. I really wonder your vision and what is being done on your platform in practice. What are your goals as president?
Um, we have had this organization running for many, many years, and my predecessors, they have done a great job building it. And then I became president, and suddenly this thing called COVID came along. And what fascinated me, or has fascinated me in retrospect, is that we went into this situation with focus on problems. Then we went digital, and a lot of possibilities evolved. We started interacting much more frequently, much tighter, and we delivered more across borders or in a digital format. And us sitting here is a typical example of what has really, really speeded up during COVID. So coming out of COVID, as the president, I suddenly was a part of an organization which interacted much, much more actively across borders. So I think, and if we look at the European landscape, 34 countries, some are really, really strong. Associations are strong, countries are strong, they have good practices. Others are definitely evolving. And for me, what is important is that we should share practice and spread practice. But what those countries which have maybe an impression of themselves, a self-image, that they are strong, best, so on, we suddenly understand that, wow, there are something going on in this and that country. And they are far ahead of us on certain things. So that is, knowledge is spread always, back forth, small, big, east, west. And what has happened within the European community the last 3 years is really incredible. And I would not say that it's because of me having been the president, but that we had COVID. And to speed up and nurture this development, the strong ones supporting the weaker ones, but make knowledge and experiences being spread all ways. I think that is what should be the path for EAPM in the future. And it's about building a profession. HR is about HR department and HR professionals. But HR is also an integrated part of every leader activity. If you are a leader, you are working with HR, but you are not necessarily defining yourself as an HR professional. So the same position as the CFO has on finance, and finance economy is spread all within the company and around. Exactly the same should be the case with HR. And I'm also would like to emphasize that traditional HR comes from personnel, which again comes from welfare. But this has been an internal function. If you are if you are not on the salary list, then you don't exist. If I might be a bit rude, seen from the HR perspective, that's not true at all, because we are evolving more and more into ecosystems, and to make sure that the culture and the interactions and the logistics and everything, which is an integrated part of HR, is also interlinked with those you are connected to outside your own company, outside your salary list. I think that is very much about where HR should and is heading. It's about effect, what comes out of it, outside in perspective, as they will frame it. I think that's the way forward.
We will talk about a little bit more on the future of HR and challenges and ambitions. But now, before moving to HR function, I also wonder, how can participants get involved in EAPM? EAPM is a global people management organization. All professional HR is coming together, but I think that some of audience can wonder how we can be a part of that organization.
EAPM, you can find this association at eapm.org. When you approach eapm.org, you will find links to national associations. As I said, we are an umbrella association. I speak to you, I'm sitting in Oslo, you are sitting in Istanbul. In Turkey, there is an association called Perion, which is a great home for HR professionals and those who are interested in people and organization in Turkey. And same is in 32 other countries. So I would say that the link into the EAPM is mainly through the national associations. But if you go and interact with a national association, you have the privilege, if you are as a Turkish member of Perion,
yes,
Perion can link you. So if you have a question about Norway, doing something in Norway, Norwegian business culture and whatever, Perion can link you to HR Norway.
And then, but I understand there needs to be a mediator role of Perion in order to be connected with you.
Yeah, this is we are member associations.
Yes.
But through your national associations, you will have an opening to link up to every other country if you have questions and so on. But the main focus for EAPM is to support the national associations and make them connect. So that is how this ecosystem works.
Beginning of your talk, you little bit talk about after COVID pandemic crisis, digitization, the changes role of HR. From that point, I would like to keep to talk about on this matter. What do you see as the most significant HR trends that will impact organization in the next 5 years? And also, I really wonder that, for example, is there any difference from cultural point of view or geographical point of view, for example, between Middle East and Europe or North Europe for these trends?
Oh, that's a huge one. Let's start with some of the main challenges. I mean, talent scarcity, demographics. We know exactly how many elderly still will be some years from now, and 20 years ahead, you should have a brief idea about how many people who are entering the labor market 20 years ahead from now. You should have that quite clear. And if we are looking at Europe these days, it's a talent scarcity. It's a huge talent scarcity. At the same time, we have unemployment. But that unemployment is very much about people not having the skills sets which is necessary for the future. So that is about reskilling and upskilling. We also have a huge reserve. I usually go to Eurostat and look at participation rate, which is an indicator of how many who could have been in work who are in fact working. This has to do with unemployment. It has to do with people leaving the labor force too early and so on. So, I mean, and as I said initially, what HR is and should have focus on, that is company, individuals, and society. And if we are not able to integrate those perspectives, those who pay our salaries as an HR professional, they will not have the talents. We need those individuals to wish for and have a possibility for a good working life with good incomes and the possibility to produce produce values for companies and wealth for themselves. And we need to interact with the society. And if we on suboptimalization, if that is the thing that we are only thinking about ourselves, I don't think this ecosystem will have a great future. So it's a huge challenge, and this comes in parallel with digital revolution, and what has been invented already is it is so much to absorb for each and one of us. And by utilizing the tools we already have, and we know that the tools are coming and coming and coming, we need to develop skill sets. And that, in fact, makes the digital revolution, the limitation of the digital revolution is very often the capabilities and knowledge skill sets of individuals. And that makes technology an HR issue, definitely. So I think all these things in combination, that's a longer perspective. And war in Ukraine, increasing distrust, lack of the idea of partnership within communities, between communities, and within the companies. We talk about silent quitting and all that kind of stuff. That's about frustration. And if we are not able to produce a culture in which people can grow and thrive, if you do not trust your leaders, if you do not trust that they have the wish for a future in which you can identify yourself, then you will struggle. And I think HR is at the core of this. So HR is so much more. We should deliver on the core things like leadership development, salaries and wages and so on. But I think we need to step up and be a part of that strategic discussion, building values for individuals, for companies, and for the society as well.
Now we talk about mainly HR trends, and also you mentioned also the future of HR. What are the most critical competencies for our HR leaders need to have to succeed in the future? How can develop these competencies? Do you have any recommendation?
Yeah, and we are done great studies on this. I mentioned Dave Ulrich. EAPM have been partnered with RBL Group and Dave Ulrich on studies on this. And for those who are really want to dig into this, they can go to the EAPM webpage and download the survey. And I think that it's important to say at least two things. That one thing is to focus on the individual competencies and skill sets. It's also about integrating those skill sets of individuals in some kind of high level, and that means that the department is more important than the individual competencies. So start with that one. It's about integrating skill sets, and I would also say that if we look at the individual perspective, we need experts. You can, there's a wonderful Norwegian professor saying that you can dig as deep as you want, but make sure that you don't dig that deep that you can't see what's happening on the outside. So I mean, this combination of being really, really deep on something, like coaching, like rewards, like. But we also need to integrate all these knowledges and perspectives. So what is HR all about? It's an, I would say it's a roundabout where a lot of skill sets meet. And there are some core competencies which make those skill sets and competencies dance. Some years ago, they were identified as paradox navigator. That's one of my favorites. It's about short-term, long-term, inside, outside, and everything which are in fact contrasting. It's about understanding and navigating in these paradoxes. You need a strategic perspective, and to understand what's happening. What is the consequence of currencies, war in Ukraine, demographics, and so on, and make HR practices based on that. And you also need, as an individual and as a department, to be a credible activist, which is very much about knowing your business, knowing your skills, be credible. But also, don't sit in a corner being silent and with all this knowledge. You need to step up and be an activist to make what you know is right, make that, turn that into practices and effects. So it's very much about talent. It's very much about talent these days, and it's also about leadership. Those are, I think, two of the core focus of every HR department.
Now, you know that we have been doing this chat for Coach Magazine Global, and coaching is becoming increasingly popular and strategic asset as a way to develop and retain talent. And meanwhile, what do you think are the key skills and competencies from especially for HR professional need to have to be effective coaching coach, and also I really wonder to link with that question. Are there any specific project about coaching on EAP agenda for this year and for the next year in your presidency?
For me, coaching is an extremely important tool, and it should be a tool in every leader toolbox. I think that coaching, that's a typical example of where you can be an expert, dig deep, and where coaching is your core competency, you'd say. But even more important, I think, is that coaching should be something which every leader practices on a daily basis. And to know the skill set of coaching and to practice and have this integrated with advisory, with mentoring, and so on, and understand it, and to be able to switch and adapt to the situation. I think that is something in which a lot of leaders are struggling. Because a lot of leaders, they are leaders or managers because they are so good on management. If you are a leader, manager at a low level, what is providing or what is securing your future career? That is very much about, are you able to manage those first level person or the front personnel in a good way? That's very much about management. And suddenly you develop and make a career where leadership is becoming more and more important. And we know there are studies from Korn Ferry showing that the lack of ability to move from management and also to build on that and integrate the leadership perspective, that is the #1 derailer for careers. So I think coaching, leadership, be interested in people, the ability to listen, the ability to have a dialogue and to understand is so important. But I'm often skeptical when people have a very narrow perspective on coaching, and because I think coaching is definitely also about context. For coaches, professional coaches, I think it's so important to understand, not only focus on the individual, but also understand the context in which the people you are interacting with are in fact living, to understand the business environment, to understand history, culture, whatever. So I would say that coaching for me it might be deep, professional coaches, but the best coaches I have seen around, they are able to switch between advisory, coaching, mentoring, and they are also able to integrate other perspectives and other knowledges in order to make this relevant for the person you are coaching.
Now, what would you, more or less, I can understand from your words, but I would like to repeat some question again. Sorry. What would be your advice to coaches who want to develop more in the world of human resources and want to progress?
If you are a professional coach and that is your primary knowledge skill set, it's not necessarily to become to be even better on coaching techniques. Let me compare it to a person who has suddenly been on given a course in testing as part of recruitment. And if you are certified as on this and that test, we very often see that they dig in and believe that this truth is within the scope of that test and that specific test. And they don't see what's on the outside. So I would say that definitely, if you're a professional coach, learn your skills, definitely. But it's also about adopting a broader skill set to understand the environment. As I said initially, it's about being able to understand the paradoxes in which the person you are serving is him or herself navigating. And it's about understanding the context of this person. So very often, if you have had the boots on and yourself had a position in which is quite similar to the one you are coaching, for me, that is very much what I would have looked for if I were to hire a coach.
Okay, now we are approaching the end of our conversation, but also I would like to ask as a last, what is the message you want to give the coaches, human resource employees, and briefly to people on a development journey?
Most managers are managers. They are extremely good on steering, administration, and all that kind of stuff. And where they have the biggest lack of skills is on relations. It's on dialogue. It's about all those things we relate to the leadership perspective. And I think it's so important to have these skill sets and to be able to support those leaders who are in fact mostly managers. But if you are so lucky that you have yourself as a professional coach come in a situation where a person is sitting ahead of you and is in dialogue, that is also maybe an indication that they are already quite mature on the idea that they have to develop. So that is a privileged situation. So I think that it's about taking care and really supporting those people who are on a travel with a professional coach and who are already in the group asking for support. But it's also about spreading the knowledge on a, you could say, more lower level, so that the coaching perspective of the managerial role and the leader role is integrated in the heart and action of every leader around. I think that's really important.
Thanks, Evan, to share your thoughts and sincere ideas. Your feedback is really priceless for all of us in the Human Resource Society and Coaching Network. Okay, also thanks to our follower to watch us. See you on the next Coach Magazine Global Tea Talk session. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for inviting me.